What's good? What's good? We're sitting here, middle of the week on a Wednesday, getting ready for this big time game this Sunday, 1 o'clock, Jaguars at home. A battle against two solid teams. I guess you got to give the Jaguars props. They're 5-2 for a reason. We sit at 4-2. It's going to be a solid game. But there's been some things that have been taking place, popping up online since we last saw the Steelers this last Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams. After we got that dub, some things have transpired, and it gave me a little bit of an idea. And maybe we roll with this going forward with our intros. We kind of have been for some of these streams in the past, but maybe we make it like a solid thing. We make it a lock as we go forward with this. Things we see on Steelers stuff on. I don't have a good title for it. Steelers stuff on the internet. Deeks Steeler things from the internet, interesting Steelers internet stuff. I don't know. Those are all terrible titles, but I'm hoping that you guys could come up with something better. There's been like 4 or 5 things I just need to address. The first one, and this isn't technically the Steelers, but it does have to do with us. And this is the NFL social media or Twitter account. Sorry, that's a stat I'm going to be popping up later. The NFL official X account, official Twitter account. Come on, bro. Look at this. You got Myles Garrett as your banner, and then for your headline, Myles Garrett for depoy with the eye emojis. NFL social media team, NFL X account, have some self-respect. You're fawning yourself over Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. And you're calling him the depoy, yet he doesn't lead the NFL in sacks. You're calling Myles Garrett the depoy, or I guess you're asking the question. You're asking the question, is Myles Garrett the depoy? You're doing all this, going out of your way, because Myles Garrett had a solid game. I'll give him credit. He had a good game. 2 sacks, 2 strip sacks, blocked the field goal. Cool. You want to know who else has those type of games? But way more often. Like, this was the first time Myles Garrett has done that. Yet he still doesn't lead the NFL in sacks yet. You know who does? TJ Watt. We see those type of games that Myles Garrett just put out there last week. We see those type of games from TJ Watt once or twice a month. Like a 2-sack, strip sack game-changing turnover. And you know what? Even though TJ Watt didn't get a sack this week against the Rams, he had a game-changing play. He does that pretty much every week. Game-changing plays, an interception. I don't see Myles Garrett getting interceptions like TJ Watt. I don't see Myles Garrett getting pass deflections like TJ Watt. So cool. Myles Garrett had a big impact game for the first time in 2023. Now the NFL wants to lose its self-respect and call him the depoy, make a banner for him. Tell me you don't know ball without telling me you don't know ball. Like this, you're the NFL Twitter account. Why hasn't this been done for TJ Watt is my big question. Like, this is sad. This is sad. Well, we're keeping these receipts, though. We got this on record when TJ Watt actually does win the depoy. We could look back and say, yeah, the actual official NFL Twitter/X account had Myles Garrett as their depoy. 7-8 weeks into the season. Congratulations. You were wrong. Freezing cold take. Another one. I just think this one's funny. I think you guys will appreciate this. The Claypool curse. Since trading for Chase Claypool, the Bears are 2-1, and we're 0-13 with him. The Dolphins were 5-1 before activating him, and now are 0-1 since activating him. The Steelers were 2-6 with him, and now are 11-4 since trading him. And I guess the stat you could add to the Bears is that after they made Claypool inactive, Justin Fields literally had his 2 best games as a pro, throwing for like a total of 8 touchdowns. I think he had like 300-plus passing yards in each of those games. So, yeah, the Claypool curse might be real. It really might be real. And this one was fun. This one was pretty cool. Some Twitter account, some like NFL Twitter account, does NFL coverage or whatnot, asked AI to create new stadiums for all 32 NFL teams. And this is the one that came up for the Steelers. This is cool. I'm not going to lie. I know there's been talks about potentially moving on from Acrisure Stadium within the next decade. I don't know if they're going to keep the same location downtown, move it to like Cranberry, somewhere in the South Hills. None of those locations make sense. It should be downtown, exactly where the stadium is, if we were to get a new one. But I don't think we should. Let's stick with Heinz Field. But if it were to look like this is sweet. You got like the Steel Factory aesthetic around the outside of it. You still got the yellow seats. Now they messed up the end zones. You got to make the end zones gold or yellow, and then the lettering black. And then they completely got the logo wrong. But overall, I think this is pretty sweet. It almost does look like Heinz Field / Acrisure Stadium already. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a cool little play on it. Because, AI could botch that type of stuff up, or usually whenever you have even like social media accounts or creators put their own spin on team logos or team jerseys, they're usually really, really whack. When it comes to the Steelers in particular, too, because we like our tradition. But this one hits. This one would work for me. And then the last one, I just wanted to read off these quotes for you. Terry Bradshaw has been a big Kenny Pickett guy. I think he has been, going back to even Kenny's rookie year and some of the stuff that he was doing, but he was sticking up for him in the media after this last Sunday's game. And I agree with what Terry's saying. First, he said, I think this was on the Fox postgame show right after the Steelers-Rams game. Pickett doesn't throw for a lot of touchdowns yet. In time, he will. He's the perfect quarterback for this team. Very selfless human being. Great in the clutch. Great under pressure. I agree. And then he was on Coward's show. It was either yesterday or Monday. And he says, I talked to GMs about this, and it's totally underrated. Kenny Pickett has physical courage. He'll stand there to the last second. You played an era where if you didn't have to, you were out of the league. Or if you didn't have it, you were out of the league. He's talking about toughness. We play in an era now where there's a lot of stuff behind the lines. Not all these kids are willing to get hit. Kenny is willing to get hit, and GMs love that. So there you have it. Terry Bradshaw, the second best quarterback in Steelers history. An all-timer, though. A legend. Top 10 quarterback of all time. We take his opinion seriously. We don't take it lightly. He gives the stamp of approval for Kenny Pickett. And I said this on the last stream. I said this on the post game. Kenny Pickett is doing the things that make you think he's a Steelers franchise quarterback. We saw those same type of things. I'm talking about toughness. I'm talking about when there's adversity, stepping up, clutch, not caring about stats. Maybe being a little bit underrated when it comes to like the national media. Like those are all things Ben Roethlisberger and Terry Bradshaw were all about. And Kenny's on his way. He's still young. I get it, but he's showing us those flashes that he's got what it takes to be Steelers quarterback, Steelers QB1, but not only that, like Steelers franchise quarterback for the next decade, 15 years. Like Terry B said, don't worry about the touchdowns. Touchdowns will come. He also went on to say, there was another quote. I wasn't able to add it into that. But he said, this dude doesn't care about the stats. This dude doesn't care about the touchdowns. All he cares about is the team and winning. Because you saw how Kenny celebrated when Jaylen Warren, when Najee Harris got in there for touchdowns. It was like he threw the touchdown pass. Or it's like he ran it in for a touchdown. That's what it's all about here in Steel City. That's selflessness. Winning football games. Quarterback's #1 job. But all right, you guys see the title. We're going to be going over the perfect Steelers trade deadline, but let me see who's in the chat first. And I got to see, do you have a good name for that like intro segment for me? Because the ones I came up with were absolutely terrible. Deke Steelers internet stuff. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible. All right, some of you guys are saying no volume. I'm assuming you got it now. I'm assuming you guys hit the unmute button. We got Jacob E. Jefferson in the house. We got James Arcaro, 123. What's the word? J West 17. He says Kenny is our guy. Team will get better. 100%. And you guys actually saw a sneak preview of the stat I'm going to show you later on before we close this out. But there is definitely a reason for optimism with Kenny Pickett, especially when you compare him to other young quarterbacks that have taken the jump around the league. We've talked about Joe Burrow before, but we're going to be facing one of those dudes in Trevor Lawrence this week. And I'll compare you both of their stats from like their first 18 or 19 games. Bob Shiner says loud and clear, my dude. Thanks for stopping in, man. S Leach 3. What's popping? Says class starts in 2 minutes. Tell me, please. Stop back through. Stop back through. You could probably guess who I'm going to be saying for the perfect trade deadline trades. Probably guess. We talked about them a little bit, but this is like the 3 trades. It would make it 100 out of 100. Omar Khan, A++, perfect trade deadline. These are the 3. Like, this is the top player at each position that we should get or that we should be targeting that would fit the perfect hole for this squad and get us going through the second half of the season. No names for that segment. No one has a good name. I'll have to think about it because it just hit me like an hour or 2 ago, and I couldn't think of anything good. Steelers internet stuff. Those aren't good names. Those aren't catchy. They're not catchy at all. Joey Dowden in the house. Steeler guy 638. He says it's one receiver. Are you the one that's going to class? I'll give you a hint. If you're the one going to class, I'll give you a hint. Hold on. No, it's not you. So no. I'm not going to say anything. The Steel City chat. Deeks deadline deals. No, I'm talking about that intro where I popped up some of the stuff I found on the interwebs that I just think are interesting and can react to. Now, the Deke deadline deals, that'll just be for this show. That has a limit to it, right? Whereas, like, each stream, we could pop up some funny stuff, interesting stuff that has to do with the Steelers across the internet. We could do that show in and show out for the first couple minutes, you know? The Steel City chat. The Steelers Hive. These might be worse than mine. All right, let's get into my perfect trade deadline scenario here. I got 3 trades that need to happen. And you guys tell me in the chat if you agree, disagree. Offer up your proposals. This one's not bad to start it off. Lex Daly says trade Canada for Bieniemy. Man, I'm just not on the fire Canada or trade Canada vibes right now. He's earned himself a week. He's earned himself a week grace period. I'm not on that energy right now. After that Rams win, after how that offense looked in the fourth quarter, how dominant we were, how we took the game away from the Rams. I'll give Canada his credit. I'll give him his due. But if we mess up this week and we only score like 3 or 6 points, back on the train. Right back on it. Trust me. But I don't want that to happen. I want us to ball out. I want us to drop 30 on the Jaguars. Be sitting at 5-2. All right, let me get this overlay up. First, for the perfect trade deadline, the first thing that needs to happen, we need to trade for Patrick Surtain. I know we could say we could just trade for a cornerback, but we're talking about the perfect trade deadline. We want the best cornerback that's available. We want the cornerback that is still young, that is a stud right now, you know, top 5, a top 10 corner at worst in the league. But he's only starting to hit his prime. He's only starting to just hit what his prime is going to be for the next, 3, 4, 5 years. That's the type of guy that I want on this team. And with the Broncos having this new regime under Sean Payton, with the Broncos being 2-5 this year, 2-5, I believe that's their record. They're saying a lot of people are up for grabs when it comes to trades. Now, Surtain, there are mixed reports. There are mixed rumors out there on him. I think they're leaning on not trading him, but if you could give them an offer that they can't refuse, then maybe the Broncos will pull the trigger. And my proposal for Patrick Surtain would be this. Give them the 2 first that they're probably looking for. And then if you have to, give them like a second or a third. And hey, I'd even toss in Levi Wallace. I don't know if the Broncos would want Levi Wallace, but I would be fine if the Steelers gave that up. I know it seems like a lot, but in Patrick Surtain, again, you're getting a dude that is already a lockdown, all-pro, Pro Bowl type of corner, and he's only like, what, 24? Is he 23, 24? I didn't check his age, but he's only been in the league. This is going on his 3rd year. So he'll be due. This is the catch. He'll be due for a contract extension coming up. We don't have to pay him, but Patrick Surtain, that's the type of dudes you do pay, especially if you trade for him. So we'll give him, $20 million a year type of extension in the offseason. He'll be with us for the next 3-4. But then your cornerback room, your cornerback duo is JPJ and Patrick Surtain as your 1-2. And then you also have Corey Trice coming off of injury. Pat P, if you want to keep him around to continue mentoring the young dudes, and then you fill out the rest with either a late round draft pick, maybe a free agent. You bring back James Pierre. But that would be awesome. Not only for the future, but for now, because what weakness would we have on this defense if we trade for Patrick Surtain? Our secondary would be absolutely loaded. You got TJ Watt. You got Alex Highsmith as your edge rushers. Your D-line's getting Cam Hayward back healthy. And you got a Keanu Benton and a Larry Ogunjobi already doing good things for them there. Your inside linebacker room is much improved from last year with Quan Alexander, Cole Holcomb, and Landon Roberts. Your safeties, Minkah Fitzpatrick, DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal, that'll do. That's a solid trio. But this takes me to my second trade deadline move that would make this a perfect trade deadline for the Steelers, and that would be getting back a familiar face in Terrell Edmonds. Because as I just listed off our defense and what it would look like if we got Patrick Surtain, the only thing I'm thinking that we might be missing is an athletic box linebacker / safety. And we know what Terrell Edmonds can do in his defense. We know he's very capable of getting 90 to 100 tackles in a season for us. We know that he's a better tackler than DeMonte Casey. I also feel like the other safety that we do have, I mentioned him, Keanu Neal. I think Terrell Edmonds at this stage in his career, he's a better overall player than Keanu Neal. So if we're ever in a dime situation, nickel situation, we want to get a safety, bump him up, get some better coverage on a tight end or a running back. But in case the offense that we're playing decides to run, dude's not afraid to get in the mix it up, get things dirty, be the garbage man for us. That's Terrell Edmonds. That is Terrell Edmonds. And a lot of people have been asking about Minkah's role this year for the Steelers. Like, what's going on? It doesn't seem like he's having the same amount of impact. He's not having the same type of splash plays. Well, that's because he's not roaming around freely like he used to, because he's got to move up in the box and make those tackles at the line of scrimmage. And he's very capable, but when you bring in a Terrell Edmonds, that frees up a Minkah Fitzpatrick that much more. So I'd be for it. He just recently got traded from the Eagles to the Titans. Titans, not that good of a team. Looks like they're offloading some of their talent. Might be in tank mode. They're already starting Will Levis this week. Derrick Henry's on the trade block. DeAndre Hopkins is on the trade block. So why not Terrell Edmonds, a safety that was just, it seemed like, thrown in as an afterthought in that Kevin Byard deal. I'm sure if we gave them a 5th or 6th round pick, they wouldn't be opposed. But then what I'm saying is if you add a Surtain, you add an Edmonds, there's literally no hole in this defense anymore for the Steelers in 2023. Like, we are absolutely loaded. Get Cam Hayward back healthy, trade for Surtain, trade for Terrell Edmonds. Like, there's no weakness at all. Secondary's loaded. our pass rush with TJ and Highsmith is going to be getting to the quarterback within seconds. So, man, I'm for that. That would make a perfect trade deadline for us. A perfect trade deadline. And then the last one, the only thing I could think about on offense is a third running back, a solid third running back, because the guy that has been listed on our depth chart as the third RB, Anthony McFarland, he's not very reliable. He's very, very injury prone. He's been on the IR for the majority of this season already. Can do some things in the kick return game. I like him when he's on the field. He's just never on the field. And he's been a mixed bag on the field. Let me put it to you this way. He's been a mixed bag. When we have seen him in a more extended role, he's made some boneheaded plays. He's tripped over himself and whatnot. He doesn't have the best body control. But we've seen him in little stretches since then, because that was his rookie year, whenever he was, falling all over the place, doing roadrunner type of things. Since then, we've seen him like in little stretches in either preseason or like a game or two in the regular season where he looks good, but then we're never able to see him on a consistent basis for like 2, 3, 4 games in a row because he's always hurt. Always hurt. And that's what happened this year. So we need a guy that's a little bit more reliable back there. And I'm talking about my guy out of Pitt, Israel Abanikanda. Dude went off for the Panthers, almost 1,500 yards on the ground, 18 touchdowns. The Jets drafted him in the 5th round. They aren't using him at all. And reminds me of Jaylen Warren, a faster, dare I say, more talented version of Jaylen Warren. He's just not proven yet in the NFL, but I have been making my call for the last month and a half. If you give this dude an opportunity, he is going to run away with it. So if we are looking to upgrade our running back depth, Israel Abanikanda would be a name that I look out for. But that would be my perfect trade deadline. Omar Khan, I mean, we've already talked about him going into the Hall of Fame after what he's done in such a short period of time. This would solidify it even more. This would be unreal if the Steelers traded for Patrick Surtain, 2 first-round picks, maybe, a second or third, whatever it takes. You get Surtain on the team. The secondary is locked up not only for this year, but for, again, the next 5 or 6 years with Surtain and JPJ. Be incredible. And then you get a Terrell Edmonds, safety that can play some of that box linebacker, do some of the dirty work, free up Minka, and just add to the safety depth. Lastly, add to our running back room, get an Israel Abanikanda. So let me see what you guys are saying, because I couldn't think of much more on offense. I know a lot of people are mentioning an upgrade from Mason Cole, bringing in a center. But what guy are we going to be bringing in that's that much of an upgrade from Mason Cole? Cole did good last year. He had a good game against the Rams, so hopefully that's more of the trend going forward. I just don't know what you're giving up for a center and who is automatically going to be that much of an upgrade over Mason Cole. I guess you could talk about tight end, but Muth's only going to be on IR for, is it going to be 3 more weeks? Because we put him on IR before this Rams game. Is it just 3 more games he's missing, or is it still going to be a full 4 weeks? But he's coming back. So if we trade for a tight end, what's that dynamic going to be like when Muth gets back? Because we already have a Darnell Washington and Connor Hayward making plays. Like, we could do trades like that. I just don't know if it falls under my perfect trade deadline category. Cal Monier, there he is. Cal Monier's in the house. Big shout out there. He says, cool last week, 28 pass blocks, 0 pressures. Yeah, he improved. B. Wilson 585. This isn't a bad one. I actually saw his name listed on some sports talk I was listening to earlier today. Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, it seems like he's on the trade block. Raiders are really trying to move on from him. I would be good with that. I would be. I think it makes things interesting then for our slot receiver spot between him, Allen Robinson, and Calvin Austin. But Renfro's the most proven guy. I don't think the Raiders were utilizing him right these last couple seasons with McDaniels. So if we get him in here, it'd almost be like having another Deontay Johnson out on the field, a dude that can get separation quick. But he's a little bit more physical of a receiver. He'll take some of those shots over the middle that I don't know if Deontay Johnson really has the frame for. I would not be opposed to getting Hunter Renfrow. I brought up his name in the past. Camonier says, Izzy got hurt in the preseason. Is he healthy? I think he's healthy. He's just been inactive. Jets aren't even using him. Richard Hunt. People talking about D-Hop coming to the Steelers. Oh, man. I don't think that's happening. Would I be opposed to D-Hop coming to the Steelers? No, I would not. If he becomes our third receiver, that's not a bad problem to have. Najee Harris is in the house. Says, man, the O-line is what needs to improve the most, not the defense. That might be something Najee Harris would say right now. Although they opened up a couple good running lanes for Najee Harris last week, but he just decided to bounce it outside. So it's a little fake news if you're just talking about last week. But yes, as a whole, the O-line has been subpar this year. I think coming after the bye, the O-line, offense as a whole, Kenny, everyone, it's going to be on the uptick. That game against the Rams really made me feel like that was a building block. Almost like how we looked after the bye last year, that first game against the Saints. We looked like a good team, like a solid team, put together team, a team that had its identity taken care of. Jay Brown Steelers, is Dan Moore getting traded? I saw that he was being asked about. If someone gives us a crazy offer, I'm sure we wouldn't be opposed to trading Dan Moore. We'll just slot in Broderick Jones and, move on from Moore. Maybe you could throw him into the Surtain package I was talking about. A couple first, Dan Moore, and maybe like a later pick, like a fourth or fifth, something like that. B. Wilson 585 says, I have faith in Najee and Warren, but Izzy would add so much to that room and hopefully for the cheap. Thank you. We got someone else that knows ball in the house. You know what you saw last year. Izzy running for the University of Pittsburgh. He was in Heisman talks midway through the season. The one game was against Virginia Tech. He had 6 touchdowns. He's good, man. He is good. He could deliver a punch like Jaylen Warren, but he's just faster. Dude ran, I think it was like a 4.29 or like a low 4.3 at the 40? And that surprised me because he is a physical runner. I just didn't realize he was that fast. King Kevy, Levi, Dan Moore, and a first for Patrick Surtain. Broncos ain't doing that. Let's be real. Broncos ain't doing that. Manifesting Aloha, bringing up Dante Jackson. Just as a guy to bring in for cornerback depth, I get what you're saying. And here's the thing, too. So that's my perfect trade deadline scenario. If we weren't to get Surtain, the idea of trading for a cornerback still remains. So if we didn't get Surtain, other guys I would be okay with. In this order, too. I'd go J.C. Horn. I'd go Jalen Johnson from the Bears. And then maybe Marcus Peters. For safety, it's pretty much Terrell Edmonds. And then maybe Jeremy Chin. He's banged up with the Panthers. I don't know how that would work because he's probably not going to come back till, it'd be week. I think he's on like a 6-week IR or like 6-week timetable. So he probably wouldn't come back till week 13, week 12. And that might be a little too late to try to incorporate a dude like that into the system. But yeah, I feel like that would be a really good trade deadline for us. I can't think of any other running backs outside of Israel Abanikanda. So I tried to list some corners. If it wasn't Patrick Surtain, the only other safety would be Chin, but that doesn't really make sense. I think Terrell Edmonds would be the perfect guy to trade for that depth safety, or potentially maybe he goes back to his role as starting safety alongside Minka. Give up a late pick for him. We know the familiarities there. As for another running back, if it's not Abanikanda, I'm good with just waiting on McFarland to get healthy, see what he's going to do out there. And we also got that dude from the Lions back in the day that gashed us in like 2021, Godwin Igwebuike. He actually played last week, was doing some kick returns. Yeah, outside of Abanikanda, I'm good on running back. I make a really good trade deadline. That's my perfect trade deadline. So I hope you guys liked it. Patrick Surtain, Terrell Edmonds, Abanikanda. Also, Cam Hayward getting healthy, hopefully after the trade deadline. That'll be a plus. And then the Steelers beating the Jaguars. And we get to 5-2. That would be a perfect trade deadline weekend. Absolutely perfect. I think we're good on time here. I think it's time to wrap this thing up. Shout out to everyone for stopping through. I will be back post game for the Jaguars. I am going to be doing the show on the road too, so my background might be a little different. I'm heading to Notre Dame for the Pitt game this weekend. So yeah, excited about that. Hopefully Pitt pulls off the upset. We're like 20-point dogs. I'm definitely taking Pitt with the points plus 20, but I'm also taking the money line. No doubt about that. I think Pitt is a dangerous team with this new quarterback. Veilleux. It looks like his last name should be pronounced Veilleux, but it's Veilleux. Had a solid game last week. Got robbed by the refs on the first down slide to close out the game. Absolute robbery. Worst call I've ever seen in my football watching career. But we move on. Pitt's a team that's got nothing to lose. We're like zombies out here. So I think we're going to go out guns blazing up in Notre Dame. We're going to go for it. Why not pull off the upset? Why not add another loss to Sam Hartman's resume against the Pitt Panthers? But that's it. Big shout out to you guys for stopping through. Hope you Oh, wait, I forgot to show you guys the Kenny Pickett stat. Let me show it real quick because I teased it at the beginning. Let me show it real quick before I bounce. I think you guys will appreciate that. Saw this on Twitter. Kenny Pickett, because I did just talk about the Steelers defeating the Jaguars, getting to 5-2. So we're going to be seeing these two quarterbacks face off this week. Kenny Pickett, Trevor Lawrence. I think most people consider wait, hold on. I botched this up. Let me get this overlay out of the way. Pull up the stat, and then we're out of here. I think most people would consider Trevor Lawrence in the top 10 in that borderline elite tier. And whenever you compare, you look at Trevor Lawrence, a guy that we feel like has hit that mark of being a franchise quarterback. You look at his first 19 games against our guy, Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett has just been flat out better in every category. Touchdown interception ratio, completion percentage, yards per attempt, and definitely wins. There's no doubt about it. Trevor Lawrence in his first 19 games didn't have as many wins as Kenny Pickett. And may I remind you too, Trevor Lawrence in his sophomore year, which was last year, he was kind of inconsistent for like his first 7-8 games. It didn't take him till probably like week 9, week 10 for the Jaguars to go on that late season run where they go like 7-1 or 7. It was kind of like us. They went on a nice late season run, ended up making the playoffs, almost beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. But it took Trevor Lawrence a little bit in his sophomore year to really hit his stride and become the dude that he is right now. I would also argue the same with Joe Burrow. So what that means to me is just give Kenny Pickett that time. He's already showing us flashes. He already is. The late game scenarios, coming up clutch, just flat out winning games, finding a way. But he's going to put those full games together, like Terry Bradshaw said back at the intro that I was talking about with his tweet and his quotes on Pickett. It'll get there. But Pickett, in my opinion, has already checked off the biggest box for what it takes to be a franchise quarterback, a guy that you could lean on for the next decade. And that's winning when the adversity is there. That's coming up in the clutch because not everyone knows how to close, man. Not everyone knows how to do that. People shrink in the big stages. Kenny Pickett is showing that he rises to the occasion. That's it. And I think it gets done this week too. I think him and the Steelers get it done, rise to the occasion. We're sitting at 5-2. You know where I stand on that. But shout out to you guys in the chat. Stay chilling on this fine Wednesday. I will see you post game after the Jaguars game, and peace out. Oh, and follow me on Bleacher Report too. If you guys could see like my account, follow me on here so you know when my next events are live. I know I post it to like Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, but hit me with the follow. I'm sure you get like some notifications and whatnot. But stay chilling and peace.